What's going on, everybody? Kevin Cage here with another crypto update. I hope everybody's doing well, and we got a bunch of Ripple and XRP news to dive into in today's video. So looking at the block, we have an XRP ETF tracker. We can sort this from futures and ideally just sort it so we can see the spot ETFs that are pending, and we have this one that's live today, so Rex Osprey. We're also going to dive into this blog that Ripple the company put out on the 22nd, and this blog is an absolute monster, and we have tons of updates. So we have the XRP ledger has entered the top tier of institutional DeFi with over $1 billion in monthly stablecoin volume and top 10 RWA activity. We can see that directly on rwa.xyz if you visit the homepage and then scroll down to this RWA league table. We have the XRPL in the number 10 spot. We're also going to dive into credentials for decentralized identity, or DIDs. We have Deep Freeze. We have the upcoming native lending protocol for the XRPL, and then we have ZKPs, or zero knowledge proofs, that are already in development. With that being said, guys, remember that nothing shared is ever financial advice. Past performance is never indicative of future gains. And if you enjoyed today's video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing, and let's dive in. Alright, so first up, let's dive into this Rex Osprey ETF. This is the first US-based ETF, basically a hybrid structure that is officially live today with $31.8 million in assets under management. And if we visit rexshares.com, we can see that this is the first United States listed ETF offering exposure to spot XRP. If we scroll down, you can download the fact sheet and the prospectus. And we can see as of September 12th, we have an XRP ETF and a Doge ETF, listing on the SIBO BZX for both. And looking at this, we can see this mentioning 80%, so let's read this. The fund, under normal market conditions, invests at least 80% of its net assets, plus any borrowing for investment purposes, in the reference asset and other assets that provide exposure to the reference asset. So for the XRP ETF, the reference asset is XRP, which means that this type of ETF, although live, is not a true 100% spot XRP ETF. Now we know for the Bitcoin spot ETFs, back in January of 2024, the SEC approved 11 different ETFs, with issuers including BlackRock, Fidelity, 21 Shares, and Bitwise. And these ETFs are considered 100% spot Bitcoin ETFs because they track the price of Bitcoin, but they're actually holding the underlying Bitcoin. And we also have spot Ethereum ETFs approved, I believe, with issuers including BlackRock, Fidelity, VanEck, the usual, and some of these are also considered 100% spot ETFs because they own the underlying Ethereum, the actual crypto asset. So the thing to look for these other issuers that are pending is these still need SEC approval. So we have Grayscale, Wisdom Tree, CoinShares, 21 Shares, Canary Capital, and Bitwise. And if you guys have any information on the other issuers that are pending right now with the SEC, please let me know, because I want to know or kind of get an idea of which of these, if any, could be 100% backed by XRP. So looking at this Rex Osprey ETF, this is essentially a hybrid spot XRP ETF, and they're using a legal structure that's using the Cayman Islands as a subsidiary just to make sure that they comply with US rules. And just to be clear, looking at this Rex Osprey spot-based XRP ETF, it is a spot XRP ETF. And it absolutely is the first United States XRP spot ETF offering exposure to XRP. It's just not 100% backed. And that's okay for now, but that's what we're rooting for other crypto assets and spot ETFs in the United States, whether it's for XRP, Solana, Doge, HBAR, Litecoin, etc. So the good news is we do officially have an XRP spot ETF that's live in the United States. Now, when we compare it to the size or AUM of an ETP for XRP that's based in Europe, and this has been around for a while, this is 21 Shares, another issuer that is also filed for an XRP spot ETF. We can see how much bigger the AUM is for this single exchange-traded product, $779 million. And this is an example of an ETP that is 100% backed by XRP. So looking at these other issuers, we're absolutely rooting for approval by the SEC. And we know Bitcoin is the absolute largest. Looking at spot Bitcoin ETF AUM daily, we can see this is over $160 billion. And same thing for Ethereum, looking at AUM around today, we can see over $24 billion. And obviously, XRP's market cap is smaller than Bitcoin and Ethereum, but we can still see a lot of potential for any assets in the future that get approved for spot ETFs, especially if they're 100% backed. And we know that Robert Mitchnick, head of digital assets over at BlackRock, said that there's really only a handful of different crypto assets today that are set up to be approved in the future for spot ETFs, likely those in the top 10 and top 20. Alright, next up, we have the Ripple US dollar being officially listed on Bybit. So we have available trading pairs. We have the Ripple US dollar with Tether, we have Bitcoin and the Ripple US dollar, we have with Ethereum, XRP, and MNT. We also have Status sharing the XRP community poster number 19. I'll pull this up because I ended up getting one, a digital download as a PDF. It is super cool. I'm just grateful that Status has been doing this for so long. If you guys want to grab one, you can follow him at Status right on Twitter. I did retweet this, but just really cool to see how far the XRP community has come. The lawsuit is officially over, and it seemed never-ending. So I ended up grabbing an orange XRP community poster since I already have so many things that are blue, but I can't wait to go print this out, and it's amazing. I know that this can't possibly fit the thousands of people in the XRP community, but I believe he tries to rotate people out every few years. And I want to give a big thank you to Status for including me alongside everybody else. Alright, now let's dive into the next phase of institutional DeFi on the XRP ledger. So we already went over the XRP ledger breaking into top 10 for RWAs and reaching its first $1 billion plus month in stablecoin volume. And the ledger is increasingly positioned to power two of the most significant use cases in global markets today, stablecoin payments and collateral management, with tokenization providing the essential foundation. And right here we have a RippleX XRP ledger feature proposals this year into 2026, and for Q3 we have the lending protocol. So end of Q3 is literally the end of this month. So based on this blog, what is live right now? We have credentials, we have deep freeze, and then we have simulate. Alright, so let's start off with credentials. We're going to break this down so it's easy to understand. So we can see linked to DIDs or DIDs, decentralized identifiers. So think of these credentials basically like a digital ID card that's built into the XRP ledger. So instead of a bank or a company having to constantly recheck to make sure that you're verified or you're legally cleared to join a market or buy, a tokenized fund, a trusted party can give you a credential that proves it. And by doing that, you don't need to share all of your personal details every single time. Obviously, that would be a hassle as well. It makes compliance easier. It keeps your information private, which is super important. And it basically just sets the stage for regulated exchanges and access to all of these tokenized financial products. Next, we have Deep Freeze now live. So Deep Freeze lets token issuers prevent misuse by frozen account holders. It ensures that flagged addresses cannot send or receive tokens until their trust line is unfrozen. So think of Deep Freeze as a security switch for token issuers. If an account gets flagged for any suspicious activity, the issuer can freeze it so that no tokens can move in or out until that's cleared. And what that does is it stops bad actors in their tracks while keeping everything visible right on the XRPL. And this is a huge selling point for stablecoins and tokenized assets in the future of RWAs. This is critical because it keeps issuers fully compliant with laws and attempts to keep the markets clean. And also just to emphasize, related to Deep Freeze, this has nothing to do with XRP. They cannot freeze your XRP. If you see someone saying that, that's a lie. So Deep Freeze is just a tool for token issuers on the XRP ledger. So if a company issued a stablecoin, a tokenized bond, or some other type of regulated asset or RWA, they can freeze that trust line that's connected to that specific token if the account were flagged for sanctions or suspicious activity. So that freeze only applies to the token that the issuer created, not XRP. And this is obviously really important for compliance and the adoption to see RWAs. And last but not least, we have Simulate, a new transaction method that allows developers to dry run transactions before committing them to the network, providing realistic previews of how a transaction will behave under mainnet conditions without broadcasting or affecting the ledger state. This is really cool, as the name suggests, simulating transactions. So before a company or project or application or developer sends a big transaction live, they can basically see exactly how that transaction will play out without actually broadcasting it. So that lowers the chance of mistakes, it mitigates or cuts risk, and it gives institutions more confidence when they're moving serious money on the XRP ledger. So hopefully that makes sense with these three features that are already live. This is a big deal. This is the type of trust that's needed to bring in banks, asset managers, and custodians, and enterprises to increase adoption and demand for not only the XRP ledger, but the native asset XRP. Alright guys, so that's where we're going to leave part 1, so be sure to tune in to part 2. I'm still having some breathing issues since the pulmonary embolism, but we went through how the XRP ledger leveled up with credentials, deep freeze, and simulate, and they're all live. And these are the kinds of tools that give institutions the green light to start building on-chain compliantly. And that's just the start. This blog is an absolute monster if you want to check it out yourselves. And part 2 is where we're going to dive into a bunch, the meat and potatoes. So we're going to go over the big upgrades version 2.5 and 2.6. We're going to go over the MPT, or the new multi-purpose token standard on the XRPL, the native lending protocol. We're also going to dive into programmability and escrow, and especially dive into the ZKPs, or zero knowledge proofs. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you're ready for part 2, and I'll catch you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash the like button and let me know your thoughts down below. You can find all links to my crypto resources, including tools for charting, trading bots, wallets, portfolio trackers, and exclusive discounts right in my link tree in the video description. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.